your Forward Daily, where we are moving humanity forward at the speed of thought. One of the things that we are dealing with in this pandemic is isolation. Everybody is really bummed out about not being able to connect with the people that they normally connect with. Now, for an introvert, this is a great time because you're able to actually retreat into yourself. But for the rest of us, that we have to figure out how to cope. And the most important thing that I want to share with you is the importance of connection. Because if you're connected, even though you're not physically present, you're never completely isolated either. You have people who you can reach out to, people who you can talk to, people who you relate to, and you gotta absolutely positively have that. So if you have people that you can connect with, make a regular cadence of calling, texting, emailing, whatever it is, whatever your preferred method of communication is. The second thing is that in isolation, you're going to have to learn skills on how to best express your presence. Because one of the things that my colleagues and I talk about is we lack the ability to project our presence into a particular area. But if you learn the right communication skills, learn how to basically pay attention to people. I mean, at the end of the day, half of life is just learning about people. I call it divine anthropology. And if we learn about people, learn what makes them tick, and I'm not saying study them as if they are some sort of animal in a zoo or anything, but really just kind of getting into the human condition and understanding, first of all, first and foremost, that we are all in this together. Nobody is going through anything alone, even though you may feel isolated. But if you take the time to develop, cultivate relationships, some that you may already have, others that you may yet develop, but cultivate these relationships so that you have people to talk to, people who can relate to your situation, people who have the same number of kids that you do, or the same distribution of kids that you do, or people that have no kids. Whatever it is, whatever your situation is, make sure that you have people that you can talk to. The next thing is that you want to, basically you want to do things that keep your mind off the isolation. One of the things that we have to do is we have to balance getting information from media sources and not letting the media run our minds. So what you're going to have to do is you take a look at what you need to know from the news, but you need to make sure that you're consuming what you need to be informed and to make informed decisions while we're going through this, without being bombarded with all of the stuff that gives you anxiety, or that makes you depressed. Because listen, while you're in this mode where you feel isolated, the last thing that you want to do is be in a situation where you feel anxiety or you feel depression. You gotta protect yourself against that. And the other thing is that you have to do some things for yourself. Read, draw, paint, write poetry, do music, take up a musical instrument. I'm not really sure what the best thing is for you is, but something that resonates in your spirit. This is a good time to pick up and learn something that you've always wanted to do that maybe you didn't have time for. Or maybe this is a good time to return to something that you put on hold for your career, for your family, or whatever. But carve out some time. You need to have time, periods of refreshing, periods of where you're pouring into yourself. Because listen, during this time, you are going to have to be your best friend. You are going to have to be your greatest cheerleader. You are going to have to be your greatest motivator, because otherwise this whole thing about feeling isolated, this will actually drag you down, and you don't want to get into that space, okay? So what you want to do, make sure that you're taking care of business. Work on how to look at people and how to best project your presence into a situation. A lot of us are doing virtual meetings where we're doing Zoom calls or Teams calls, those kind of things, or Google Meet or whatever. And you have to figure out how to project yourself effectively. And you don't want to be a jerk, where you're trying to take over every meeting, but you want to make sure that your presence is felt and that it's known. So you have to kind of look at people and see what works for you. Second thing is pour into yourself. Make sure that you're giving yourself the kind of things, the kind of motivation, the kind of encouragement that you want. And then your information, when you're taking in information, make sure that you're taking in the information you need and filtering out those things that could bum you out. And then lastly, what you want to do is make sure that you're doing something to build your body. Because again, we're at home. You got to hit the weights. You got to hit the floor. Do some push-ups, squats, sit-ups, jump rope, whatever it is. Take a walk. I mean, whatever it is, you have to do something to keep your body moving. Because if you don't, what happens is your body will begin to feel as if it is shutting down. And you don't want to do that, because physical depression or physical inactivity may lead to a mental condition, or basically where you're depressed, or it increases your anxiety. Exercise is a great way to release that tension and frustration, and it's also a good way to make sure that you're taking care of your body while you're in an isolated position. And that's what I have. I hope that encourages you, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.